Hi guys. Hey, we're on. Oh, I need to turn this off. There we go. So I have the thing set up so I can share the screens again. So I can show you how to look up things on Eldamo and Parvadel, and if you like. So welcome. Gosh, is it weird to see my face in two places? The only downside is I have to use the Google Hangouts thing, and so I can see the chat, and I have the Google Hangouts to be able to share my screen, but the chat is only visible on the page itself, so I have to go and like switch back and forth, which is kind of annoying, but oh well, it's not the end of the world. Invite to ask questions is up. Okay. How is everybody? Because it's been kind of hectic over here. I'll show you what I spent all yesterday doing, and what I was doing instead of making quizzes on my website. There. Check it out. Ta-da! So these are from my grandmother's peach tree. I turned just over half of it into peach jelly, and the other half is just straight up preserved. Because we got like 2 gallons of peaches from her trees, and the poor tree, poor thing, like it was so weighted down that it was propped up with boards to keep it from falling down. So that's what I've been doing instead of working on my website. But not me preserves, so I guess it's okay. Let's see, I'm trying to remember if there's any words for peaches in Tolkien's languages. You know what? There is a way to find out. And I will show you how it is done. So, click on screen share. Share. Woohoo! That looks so cool. Okay. Now, hi myself. I'm going to go, let's try Eldamo because we can do the academic word search. It's very handy. So, let's do peach. No words for peach. Okay, well, I know we'll find a word for this. Fruit. So in Quenya, we've got Yave, which is fruit, and Yavanna, which is the fruit giver, fruit gift. And he's starting to list neo-sindarin and neo-quenya words too. So in Noldorin, we get the word Ivan for fruit giver, which is just a version of Yavanna. And then it's been updated into Sindarin, and you didn't have to change any of it. So yeah, ta-da! That's how that works. And now we go back here, and I turn off screen share. Ta-da! And that is how you use Eldamo. Eldamo requires really exact searches, but it gives you very thorough searches, and very quickly you can see the whole history of a term and how it's used in by Tolkien language enthusiasts now. So the neo-sindarin word for fruit these days is usually yav. And it's spelled I, A with a circumflex, and then an F. So feel free to ask any questions in the chat. About Tolkien's languages and such. I do have a little bit of a plan for today. So I believe last time I was talking about how I want to build a not exactly peer review, but it's about as close as we can get source of articles for Tolkien's languages. And yeah, I'm going to do that. But the first step is I'm going to bring in some of the people who will be doing the peer review, and I'll have them write articles and such on the website. On the Academy website, I think, for the more scholarly stuff, because it's the real Elvish Academy. It seems appropriate. So on the real Elvish Academy, I'm inviting people to like every couple weeks or so post an article about Tolkien's languages, about some small part of it. Just so we can have something more interesting than just classes going on there, and also so that can foster and encourage thought on these topics. So that is one of the reasons why I'm doing that. So, and also because on the blog style format, you can organize things a little bit better, so it's a little bit easier to find stuff on certain topics. And a lot of people have been posting these sorts of things onto platforms like Google Plus, onto the Google Plus community and the Discord community. The problem is, though, that they get buried really quickly there. So all that scholarly work just sort of gets swallowed and lost. So hopefully I'll make it easier to find that stuff and search it. So that is my grand evil plan. Oh, and I've got my tea. So I already got a start on it. I made it like an hour ago, so and this one's English breakfast tea again. So very tasty. And my cat hasn't come in and visited. She's napping right now. So, no cat hanging out with us today. All right. I see a few more people have joined. So feel free, introduce yourself in the chat. Ask questions about Tolkien's languages. I didn't have very many in the way of announcements or anything today. Though there will be something exciting happening later today, like in the evening. I'm going to be interviewing somebody, and that somebody is going to be writing articles on the website. So stay tuned for that. Though I'm not going to be interviewing them on this particular platform because I don't think it will be as good quality. So, yeah. Oh, hi, Grace. Dogs are a worthy distraction from hanging out with Elvish speakers. This morning we had a dog just hanging out on our porch. I think it got lost or confused or something, because it seemed to think that our porch was its home and it was expecting to get let inside. But no, it wandered off when it realized that it was the wrong people. So. So, yes. Getting more plans for getting other people involved in the website, which is always kind of terrifying for me because I've mostly done this on my own. And you know, social stuff is always slightly nerve-wracking for me. So here we go. But I hope I can be a good manager of all these things. No idea, though. I don't know if I'm tactful enough to be a good manager. I tend to say things very matter-of-factly without thinking about how the other end will see it. Like, I'm so busy detangling my thoughts and turning them into language that it gets all muddled. So I was making, at the last convention, I got really bored. So I was doing embroidery because I brought my embroidery kit. So I ended up making stuff. So I made 2 of these. They're little leaves. I think this one turned out just a little bit better. This one is a nerde, number 9. So for you, it's flipped around backwards because, you know, camera and stuff. A little yellow flower. And this is just like a bunch of little squares interlocking because I was bored. It's a little rainbow. And this one is my initials. It says FAJ. And I also put a little purple flower on it. Thanks. I think I'll give them as gifts to people. I'm not certain they're high enough quality embroidery to like sell, but they're cute, so I can give them as gifts. And I had fun making them, so there's that. Yeah, autistic problems. Though I think that most of the time people can't tell that I'm autistic. I cover it up pretty well. But it just takes a lot of energy, and I always feel exhausted afterwards because being that engaged and having to read in real time someone's reactions that fast is quite difficult. So yeah, I actually much prefer like texting, stuff like that. So have you ever used Eldamo before? See, I was doing an Eldamo demonstration earlier, so maybe I should do a demonstration on Parvadelen instead. So I will show you guys Parvadelen. And I'm gonna share the screen. It's gonna get weird. So weird. Okay, here we are. So this is Parvadelen or Elf Dict. So URL is elf and then like the first part of dictionary. So dict.com. And this one is very, very, very easy to use. So let's look up fruit again and see what happens. So it gives you a list of the terms. Though if you were to do a word that is like the same, well, it could be spelled the same, or it could be spelled like an Elvish word. I try to come up with one off the top of my head. Okay, let's start with so it's gonna give you all of the words that start with A. You can see, like, and it slowly narrows it down. And it looks both in the meaning and in the word itself. Ta-da! And then it gives you neo-sindarin and neo-quenya at the top. These are modernized. This includes modernized words. It'll give you things like word pieces here for Arfen and an example of the word being used in a phrase. And then words with similar meanings in both languages. So it always lists like everything. You get a super long connected, like all the possible related words. And then it'll also bring you into Telerin and Noldorin. Noldorin is the earlier version of Sindarin that Tolkien abandoned. Actually, with Noldorin, I wouldn't write it with a Newman. I'd write it with a Ngoldo. Like this. Ta-da. Can't tell if you can see that. I know it'd be backwards from in your perspective, but yeah. Should have used Ngoldo because historically Noldorin would be pronounced Noldorin. So there we go. Anyways, and then lists those, and then this Quenya, it's pronounced the same, but it's spelled differently. This is the same. This is an earlier version of Quenya that Tolkien abandoned. Well, he used most of it for his later Quenya, but he abandoned parts of it. So a lot of the words from Quenya can be used for Quenya. And then primitive Elvish, this is Common Eldarin, languages before they split into the other languages. And then Old Noldorin, that's like archaic, ancient Noldorin from this particular history. And then Gnomish is an even earlier language that Tolkien created. That was like the proto version of Noldorin and Sindarin. So he abandoned this one too and turned it into Noldorin. And then Noldorin he abandoned and turned into Sindarin. Like that. So you can see this is great for looking up words for translation. So if you have a general idea of the word that you're looking for, you can find it. And you can see the history here. So this is really, really handy for translating. So if you're trying to find a really good concept for tall, like somebody who is both regal and tall at the same time. So you type in tall and you get all of the possible words meaning tall. So Arod might be a good one. Arod also means noble, so that's a good one. Tair, another good one. Orchel. This one, you know, works as you get farther down, the less close to the original word, the meaning. So, yeah. If you're just doing tall, that's like only height, I like to use toned. Hull is a good one too. That one that can also mean hidden or shaded, but it also has noble-ish meanings. So orchal is often how it's done there. Okay, so here we go. That was a fun adventure. And we'll turn off the screen share, figure out how. Here, stop screen sharing. There we go. Ta-da! Hi, Darbari. Welcome back. I've been going over some really useful reference tools for Tolkien's languages. I am not surprised that Parvadelen was the first Elvish website you came across because, um, it's such a sleek, modern website, isn't it? A lot of the really good Tolkien language websites are also really old-fashioned. Like, you can tell they were originally built in the 90s. Like, only really basic HTML. And like the people running them usually like don't have things like Twitter and such, so they don't really have a way to raise the profile of their website. So yeah, it's just not very modern websites. And on the most part, that's not their goal. So it's fine. And if you find their website's difficult to read, you can just copy paste the texts and onto a Word document and print them out if you want. Yeah, but Harvavellen does make an effort to reach out and bring people to it because it is a really good resource, and it's worth spreading. So yeah, there is always that balance between those. I don't know if they're ideologies really, but approaches. Like, it seems like there's two main approaches in the Tolkien linguistics world. It's like you have to be in the know to find it, or you have to be, good enough at Google to search for the right word, and then you'll find it. So stuff that you have to be in the know to know about. It's like Ardalambian. It's one of the first ones that you'll find when you're becoming in the know. That is an ancient website. And some of the backgrounds will indeed sear your eyes because they're so bright, but it's okay. Just copy the text onto a Word document so you can read it because the content is really, really good. And then there is Parma Tilpelasiva. That one is also very simply made, very, very simply made, obviously made late 90s, early 2000s. Very simple HTML. Background is really busy. So again, you just copy paste the articles because the articles are worth reading. It's worth going through the trouble. And there's a few sources like that you really have to search deep. Usually not with Google. You have to start following like references to them until you find them. But, and that does, I think, have a really useful thing because, makes you feel accomplished, having figured out where something is, you know? Having found a secret trove of Elvish research always feels really cool. And it makes you feel like you're in the club, in the secret Elvish club. Um, but on the other side, making this stuff so hard to find means that it's really hard to find. So there's a downside. And it kind of slows the. It means that there's fewer points of entry into the Tolkien linguistics world. So, you know, it feels specialer because it is so hard to get into, so hard to find. But at the same time, this means that less good resources, which are a lot more accessible, often get found first. You know, and I think I would rather have the good stuff be found first. So that's why I'm trying to do like proper website stuff. Oh, I am terrible at it. I am really terrible at like constantly updating Twitter and things like that. I'm just don't do that stuff very well. Just not social enough. I need something to twiddle with my fingers. So, what I got here is a scarf. This is the wool. So Grace, when you were first starting your Tolkien language adventure, how soon in that process did you find my website? Or was that a very recent development? There is a little bit of a lag between question and answer, which is always interesting. And I can show you guys some of the other Tolkien language websites, so you'll see what I mean. Like, I can show you Arta Lambion. I always struggle with that rolled R. Never really gained that ability because I had a bound tongue when I was little, and it wasn't unbound until I was a teenager. So I never gained the ability to roll my R's. Not competently, anyways. I can do a flip, like a little tap, but making it be more than one tap, can't really do it. Which is a pity. So what do you think? Oh, here we go. Oh, you found my book first, then my website. It's an interesting turn of events. I wonder if you randomly search just like Elvish and my book will come up first. I don't know. I don't usually Google myself very much. Okay, guys. So would you like to see some of the older websites? Oh, good. Oh, that makes me happy to hear. Yeah, that was kind of the point with my book. Yeah. Okay, I will reach the end of this row, and then I will show you Ardalambian. And like Ardalambian is one of the most extensive resources on all the languages Tolkien made and their grammars and phonologies and histories and such. It's just incredibly good. Oh, thanks. Yes, that was like kind of the point. I wanted to make it feel like an informal uh, discussion, because I remember when I was getting into this stuff when I was 15 that I like when I found places like Ardalambian, I didn't run across Ardalambian when I was 15. That was a little bit later, but still, when I finally ran across these things, and I only had my high school level understanding of English grammar, and I hadn't started studying French yet then either. So, like, I found them really incomprehensible, really hard to read. So, one of the goals in writing my book was to make it not hard to read, make it easy, easy as humanly possible to understand while still being analytical and thorough. Okay, now I'm going to show you guys Ardalambian and why it is so fun. Okay, first I'll go and grab the link before I pull it up. Actually, you know what? I won't. I will show you guys how to find the link. Okay, here we go. Screen sharing. Share. Woo! It's always so cool looking. Okay, so here we are on realelvish.net. See the side column here, you scroll down to websites, trustworthy websites. Click on that. I have them organized into things like dictionaries about Tolkien's languages, communities, compositions, writing systems, fonts, about the world itself, fanfic, other stuff. So let's think about. So Ardalambian, here we go. So you can see very, very old-fashioned website. Anyone remember this background from MS Word? So yeah, I remember this. So let's go, and I will show you some of the articles here. Let's check out Tellerine. And yes, I won't stay here long. So this content, super, super useful, super well done, really, really good, just unreadable on the website itself. And Doriathrin, violently pink. Oh, can't look at that too long. Let's see, Kuzdul. What was that one like? Yes, it's gray on black. Not as bad as some of the other ones. Maybe a little bit harder to read if you're if you have vision problems and such, but still, you know, not as extreme as some of the other ones. Let's try Adunike. Oh, ow. Really, really good content. Like, this is some of the earlier analysis that you can find on Adunike, and it is super, super useful and super good. But man, that background, ow. Nandarin, violent green, violent, okay, ow. So yeah, I basically have all of these copy and pasted into Word documents on my computer because, you know, the content is amazing, super, super good, but ow. It's just like trying to read it on the website itself is no good. Okay, so I'll show you a less egregious website. Still has its problems though. This is Parma Tielpelasiva. Oh, he's added some new things here. Okay, so you can see here, it's got a busy background. Let's click on some of the articles. So again, these articles are incredibly good, really, really worth checking out and reading. And his article on the sindarin past tense was one of the foundational documents for a long time. So yeah, it's not as bad, but you can see like there's still a busy background, and that can make it harder to read. So it's like depending on how well good your tolerance is for busy backgrounds. But you might want to just copy paste this directly into a Word document. Yeah, and the articles all have this design on them. So yeah. Okay, let's stop the screen sharing. Ta-da! We're back. I don't know of any websites that teach Black speech, no. No. See, the problem is that the extent of Tolkien's development of Black speech was a few orcish curse words, and just enough to write the text on the One Ring, but nothing beyond that. So, like, teaching Black speech is not really possible. Like, you could teach the probable pronunciation of the text on the One Ring, but you can't really, like, we know the typology of the grammar. We know some of the affixes for the different noun cases in Black speech. but we don't know very many. Like only the ones in the in that poem, and the only number we know is, you know, Ash 1. You know, Ashnaz. It's like it's just the last couple lines, or last 4 lines, is it? It looks like it's 2 lines, but so if you're talking about David Salo's version of Black Speech, I don't think he's uploaded any like documents for teaching it. I think he did just like post some articles on his blog about how he solved certain problems in the conlanging and such. I think he did post a word list at some point. Trying to remember. Okay, tea is almost drunk. Okay. So yeah, I can't really speak Black Speech. Yes, tea. Wonderful, wonderful tea. Good. So we've got a bunch of people here. Don't be shy. Post in the chat if you don't know what I'm talking about because you're on a different service. Like if you're following on Discord or Facebook or Twitter or something, just click on the view on YouTube thing, and then you'll be able to have access to the chat itself, and then you can ask me questions you have about Tolkien's languages. Or ask me about the tea, because I like tea. Or ask me about the novel I'm writing, because I'm having fun with the world building. So, like, let's see. That's right, new computer, have to set up all this crap again. Okay. No, 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 not that one. Where is it? I'm so used to it just being like here, so I could just find stuff right away. And it's not like that anymore. Okay. Be under novels, right? Where is it? Ah. Okay, there we go. Open existing project. That's what I was trying to do. Okay. I'm dealing with Scrivener here. I'm still pretty new to using it, so. And I'm still on the 30-day free trial because Scrivener is wonderful about that. It's 30 non-consecutive days free trial. Okay, so it will be in fiction, novel. It worked. Yes, it did. Haha. I'll figure out all this crap sooner or later. Okay. So the novel is about a girl who is the only person who doesn't forget people existed. So like there's people vanishing, and all the people who knew them seem to do not remember that these other people that had vanished ever existed, and she's the only one that can remember. And she gets to the point where, you know, she starts noticing this when she's really little. So she gets to the point where she thinks that, okay, maybe there's just something wrong with me. And it's mostly people in town disappearing that she doesn't know that well, isn't that connected to. So she's just sort of living with ignoring it. And then it happens to one of her classmates. So dun dun dun. And then the story starts. So yes, that's what my novel is about. Though I have a lot more like planning and stuff into it. So it's like a supernatural kitchen sink sort of series. And I've been world building, like what sorts of creatures there are, and what they're like. And so you know how in a lot of stories these creatures, these supernatural creatures, all go into the cities. They hide in really big cities. Well, I'm having them hide in the countryside. So it's more urban fantasy, except it's rural fantasy instead. I have no idea when I'll publish. I may or may not be getting sucked into the world building. So this novel is kind of a side effect of me, you know, doing more writing in general. So when I am doing something like intense and analytical, like my language textbooks, I really have to also be doing something that's really creative at the same time. So I will like be creative, like with my sewing, um, you know, making costumes and such like that, or I will be writing stories, novels, that sort of thing. So, you know, I don't know if I'll self-publish this one actually. Like, it may never like see really the light of day, but I'm having fun writing it at the very least, and it helps keep my creative juices flowing when you know, keeping my like entire brain engaged when I have really intense projects to do that require a lot of heavy analytical stuff. So yeah, I like to engage my entire brain. And some parts of my brain, some pieces of me, would really rather be working on something creative, so I have to give, you know, throw them a bone too. So I've been having fun making creatures and such in there. Yeah, I always like, I just, okay, so I can do short stories, like really, really short ones, like Gravels, really short, simple stories that have very quick, like almost like a punchline to them. and really hyper complex novels that I can get kind of lost in. Like, yeah, that's the danger with writing any sort of fantasy or sci-fi. You can get really sucked into the world building and never come out again, basically. And I think Scrivener, so I'm trying out Scrivener to see if I can get this to work better for my writing. I think it may be encouraging my bad habits with like world building. So for the supernatural world, I've started creating things like we've got dead things. I have them sorted into different sections. There's dead things, humans, non-humans, and part humans. So I think I have a pretty interesting take on ghosts, which I had a lot of fun making, and that ended up becoming a little bit longer than I thought it was going to be, the description of it. So so a ghost is the soul of a dead person, of course. But this is like the entry for both a wraith and a ghost. So wraiths are ghosts with incomplete souls. They can have a will of their own, but they're often incapable of doing anything with the will because it is incomplete. And really powerful ones can manifest and appear human, and they can get caught and enslaved by witches. So purification rituals often get rid of bad spirits and ghosts, and they can't cross natural boundaries on their own. So they can't cross over rivers, go walk on a shore, can't go over thresholds, windows, mountain passes, fairy rings, the edges of forests, and they have no reflections because reflections are natural boundaries as well. And they usually dissipate pretty quickly after death, like a few hours, and then they, get reabsorbed into the world. But you can catch one like right after someone's died. You can call their name, and you can catch them in one of these natural boundaries. Like you can command them to go into like a mirror or a cup of water. And then releasing them is just breaking it. So like dumping the cup of water out on a bush or something. And in this town, there is a gigantic, very happy, healthy tree where the captured souls are often released and dumped out into. So it's kind of devouring those. The like little remnants of souls stuck into it. So yeah, I'm having way too much fun with this. So okay. Oh, and then there's the part where wraiths are dangerous because they can like a ghost can't do this, but a wraith can. Since they're incomplete, they can enter another person, and if they're being controlled by a witch, then they will, like that person will be under the control of the witch. So, dun dun dun. Yeah, it'd be fun, I think. I also have a vampire character in the story. So I also have a different version of vampires, kind of going against the traditional story. So they are trapped at the age that they were turned, and they are turned by a ceremony that either a witch or a priest or shaman or something does to them. And like if the vampire knows the ritual, they can turn other vampires or turn other people into vampires. But the ritual is designed specifically to make them weak to religious symbols, because it was they were made first by priests and such who wanted a monster they could control, that would have its own will, so they wouldn't have to like give it every minute possible instruction, or wouldn't have to do something like try to possess it or something like other things you can control, other people like things you can control, like a golem doesn't have a will of its own. You basically have to kind of possess it in order to do anything with it. So that's kind of dangerous to you, and it's also time consuming, and like what's the point if you're going to be incapacitated anyways? So they were looking for a way to have a monster they could control, and unfortunately they gave it a little bit too much of its own will. And while they are vulnerable to the priests' religious stuff that turned them, they can fight back. So, but the vampire character, like the main thread of the vampire character in the story, is that he was turned when he was really young. So he's basically a really bratty kid and will never ever outgrow it. Oh, I love poetries. Or poems, not poetries. Am I tired? I might be. So, oh, I've forgotten most of my ability to read Cyrillic. Like I used to be able to do that like senior year of college, but can't really do it anymore. So I'm not exactly certain what your name is. Sorry. It's been too long. Yeah. That's just me rambling about the world building I've been doing. So it kind of sounds like in my description so far that witches are bad guys, but they aren't really. They're you know, they're kind of like scientists of the world, and this can be used for good or evil, you know. And their only limitations is the depth of their study and their willingness to experiment if things actually work or not. Um, and they're usually connected to religions. Uh, and they're usually not psychics, and they don't have very flashy powers. And they're usually doing things like with wraiths, like to control them, like um, to cure somebody of being possessed by a wraith. Because if somebody is close, like hanging, near enough to a dead body when somebody dies, and the wraith comes out of them and gloms onto the nearest person and starts making that person sick, then the witch could like cure the person of that wraith possession, and that's usually what they would end up doing with controlling wraiths. But not everybody is good in the world, so some of them are bad. I'm getting a call from my work. I will be right back, guys. Hello? Hello? Yes? Okay, I will cover your lunches. See you soon. Bye-bye. Okay, guys, I'm afraid this is gonna have to end early. Apparently, I was scheduled to work today and I didn't know, so oh well. See you guys next week. I'm out of here.